Hi grade 6 and 7, welcome to our next lesson of music history. Today we're going to be going back to the Romantic era where the Industrial Revolution was in full play and where it actually took context as to shaping one of our composers. Today our composer is from the land of Germany. His name is Felix Mendelssohn and he was born in Hamburg, the land of the hamburger. His was not a story of him coming from rags to riches. So Rossini was not necessarily extremely lavish, the composer we looked at last week, but he wasn't super poor either, but yet he did eventually have to take care of his parents. Mendelssohn was on a completely different level. He was absolutely rich, he was affluent, his family had everything that any person at that point in time could ever need. So as a child, he was born to an extremely wealthy family and got every single thing he ever asked for. And on top of that, his character was one that was not common amongst rich aristocrats at that time. He was very reserved and he never asked for anything extremely extravagant. He was ridiculously talented, but was famous mainly for drawing attention to other musicians. So that's an act of humility right there. Despite his riches, he would not draw attention to himself, but would rather draw attention to other people. Simply put, he was rich, talented, obedient, reserved, smart, generous, successful, and humble. The kind of man we would all want our daughters to marry. As a child, he was given the best of education. He studied the best of art, music, and literature. And as a child, he composed 5 operas and 11 symphonies and a ton of other music. Just imagine that, as a young child. By the time he was 16, he actually composed the first piece that we're going to be looking at. But before we get there, we first need to introduce another special character, and that's his sister Fanny. Him and his sister were buddies when it came to creativity. They were partners in creative crime. They especially loved the works of a very famous playwright called Will. Not just any Will, not Will Smith, but William Shakespeare. And as a teenager, Felix got a hold of a German translation of A Midsummer Night's Dream. And he was so inspired by the story that he composed an overture for it. And it premiered in grand fashion. To who? To his parents. Not the grandest of fashion, but it was something that was still big to him. And so he showed it to his parents when he felt ready to actually bring it out. Just consider this for 1 second. All other kids at this point in time were busy outside playing ball. And at this point in time, Mendelssohn was about 16 years old. So while everyone else is outside playing football, doing all the other things, frivolous things that people do, he was busy composing music that not just lasted for that time, but that lasted today. As a teenager, he composed music that people still love today. And children have been making music for their parents since the beginning of time. Like, hey mom, look, I made a new song. Then they take their rocks and their stones and start beating it to each other and saying, hey, look, I'm making music. And parents have endured that for many, many years. But how rare is it to find a child that's actually composing something that will last centuries on? So in the 1800s, which is the 19th century, yet his music is still being played today in the 21st century. So go have a listen to A Midsummer Night's Dream, and a couple of things I want you to take note of. In the beginning, listen to how the music replicates fairy feet, like how fairy feet would be moving, either very quick or very tempered or even very soft. Try and envision those things. And at the 8-minute 10 mark, now you get to see how Shakespeare, when he wrote the play, his braying donkey actually comes into the scene. And you can see how the music actually conveys that sort of picture. So go ahead and listen to A Midsummer Night's Dream Overture.